Hi, I'm Mark, and on my channel I talk about UK politics and Brexit from an outside view, although I do know the UK from the inside as well. The European Union has drawn up a list of demands now for the UK to improve relations after Brexit. British Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer has expressed his government's desire to improve the relations with the EU, and that's the reaction now. He wanted to do this through a comprehensive security agreement and negotiating more favorable trade terms. However, the EU sent a list of demands that the UK must first meet to show real commitment. According to the Financial Times, the EU's demands focus on enforcing the Withdrawal agreement and promoting new cooperation. The aim is to restore trust and stability between the two parties. The EU's main demand to restore relations after Brexit is for the UK to fully comply with the Withdrawal agreement, and we know what the former governments did. The Withdrawal agreement secures the rights of EU citizens living in the UK and British nationals living in the EU, for example, at the end of the Brexit transition period in 2020. It also applies to EU citizens who have moved to the UK or British nationals who have moved to an EU member state during the transition period. Those covered by the Withdrawal Agreement retain the right to live, work, study and travel freely between the UK and the EU. It essentially preserves the status quo before the UK left the European Union. And the EU recently formally requested the UK to clarify certain issues on the Withdrawal Agreement. The UK has 2 months to respond, otherwise the EU may take legal action in the European Court of Justice. And the Northern Ireland Protocol is also an essential part of the Withdrawal Agreement, and the EU insists that the UK fully implement it. The protocol states that the UK should not establish a hard border between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. This is crucial, as you all know, to maintain peace and stability in the region. The EU requires that the UK guarantees the rights of EU citizens living in England, Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland, as I said, and there are many questions left surrounding the European Union's settlement scheme, the EUSS, which has strained the UK-EU relations after Brexit. The EUSS is the UK body that implements the rights of EU citizens covered by the Withdrawal Agreement. And many EU citizens living in the UK have had difficulties applying for settled or provisionally settled status. Those who have been granted provisionally settled status have also had difficulty finding or keeping jobs due to their uncertain immigration status. A diplomat said in the interview with the Financial Times, "This needs to be fixed before we talk about cooperation in new areas." And the EU is demanding that the UK uphold a Supreme Court ruling that says EU citizens residing in the UK do not need to make a separate application for permanent status after 5 years of residence in the UK. The UK, for its part, has revised its guidelines for late application for EUSS to take into account EU citizens who may not have been aware of the new rules. The Home Office has also extended the validity of the status of those already resident for a further 5 years. It's also working to automatically convert their status to settled status once they have completed the 5-year residency requirement. The expiry date for provisionally admitted status are now hidden in digital profiles, and employers and landlords will no longer have to repeatedly check provisionally admitted status holders. And they want a youth mobility agreement that allows young people aged 18 to 30 from the EU and the UK to live, work, study and travel in each other's territory for up to a certain number of years. The lack of such an agreement between the UK and the EU is one of the main effects of Brexit and limits opportunities for young people. And the new UK Labour government has reportedly rejected the idea of a youth mobility agreement with Spain. The previous Conservative government also rejected a possible EU-wide youth mobility agreement. The EU's now proposed youth mobility agreement is different from the UK's current youth mobility agreements with other countries. In addition to removing the participation quota, it also aims to remove various obstacles that have emerged after Brexit. This includes ensuring fair treatment in higher education tuition fees, as EU students now have to pay international fees in the UK. And it also aims to make the cost of visas and residence permits more affordable to reduce the financial burden on young people. However, the UK has firmly refused to rejoin the EU single market in order to reinstate free movement. Wouldn't be possible at the moment anyway. It tends towards youth mobility schemes with a country-specific approach rather than an EU-wide scheme. But the EU also wants the UK to rejoin the Erasmus program, which it left after Brexit. Erasmus is an EU program that offers young people the opportunity to study or train in different EU countries with financial support. Participation in Erasmus improves educational opportunities and promotes mutual understanding between young people in the UK and the EU, and that's what happened in the past. In April, there was a proposal calling on the EU to negotiate with the UK to rejoin the Erasmus program. And according to a veteran British diplomat, the UK withdrew from the Erasmus program for financial reasons only. He noted that the costs of participating in the program exceeded the expected benefits from their point of view. And it was said that more foreign students want to study in the UK than British citizens with language skills are there at all that could have the desire to study abroad. But the EU wants to improve the UK's compliance with the trade policy in order to improve relations after Brexit as well. And their demands aim to ensure the smooth and safe movement of goods and pets between the UK and the EU, because the EU has raised concerns about the UK certification of animal and plant products. And they demand accurate certification to avoid trade disruption. Non-compliant shipments should be turned back at the border to ensure safety and compliance with EU standards. And the EU also calls on the UK to urgently introduce a system to check pets at the border. In addition, the EU wants a new system that provides data on the contents of packages as soon as possible, so parcels. The EU's demands aim to create a framework for cooperation and ensure that the renewed relationship benefits both parties and no cherry picking. The proposed mobility agreements and compliance with the withdrawal agreement are another step, because the agreements are essential steps towards achieving this goal. And the coming months will be crucial as both sides discuss these issues, try to find a common ground, and try to improve relations after Brexit. Nevertheless, the emphasis on youth mobility underlines the shared interest in promoting opportunities for future generations. Despite the challenges, there is hope that they can rebuild their relationship and work together for a better future if one side understands that, first of all, the empire is gone, and second of all, the status of a normal third country must be finally understood as well, and not only by the government, by a lot of people in the country. This is just reality and how our global markets work and how politics work. But first you have to understand reality. The time of the unicorns is over. And if you want to see another video, the next one is right here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.